That's it. Good morning. This is the Coordinating Agent to Agent List of Efforts CATALIST BOF meeting. If you wanted to be somewhere else, now is your chance. Up the front here is Yingzhen, and I'm Adrian, and we are your chairs for today. So we're halfway through the week. Hopefully you are well aware of the Note Well. The Note Well is a reminder of your responsibilities when participating in an IETF meeting. If you are unaware of these, you are well advised to read the RFCs, which you can get to via this QR code. If you need advice, please talk to chairs and area directors. And this is a good moment to say, if you're in the room, please make sure you have scanned the QR code and joined Meet Echo. So if you're in the room, Meet Echo Lite, the on-site tool, is the way to go. It enables you to join the mic queue. We will be strictly using that as a way of keeping in. Everybody, local or remote, make sure your audio and video are off unless you're presenting or speaking remotely. The note-taking I posted in the chat, please join in that. We have a few very kind volunteers who have agreed to supervise and lead that note-taking. If you speak at the mic, it's a good idea to sit down afterwards and check that the notes reflect what you said. So here are some links to all the good stuff associated with the meeting, all the slides in particular, so you can follow along or step back and see what it was that somebody just said that you slept through. Important. This BOF is not a working group forming BOF. It's not promoting any specific technology. It's not trying to write a charter or form a working group. That's a little unusual with BOFs these days, but this is much more of a discussion forum about the technology. And while AI is a very broad topic, and I think if you've been trying to follow the side meetings this week, you will have seen there's a lot going on related to AI. This BOF has a very narrow focus of AI agent-to-agent communications. So that includes architectures, protocols, security management, and discovery. What it does not include are things like networking for AI, or AI for networking. And in particular, a recent hot topic of what happens when AI starts to get involved in the IETF, producing or reviewing drafts. That's all out of scope. Interesting stuff, but not this BOF. So what we observed over the last couple of IETF meetings was that there was a lot of side meetings and mailing lists being spun up, and that's continued this time round. So this BOF is attempting to provide a forum to summarize and share the information and pointers about those work efforts. Clearly, we cannot cover all side meetings. I think we got to something like 16 side meetings this time round on AI topics, and if we gave each of those 10 minutes, we'd be missing lunch. So we picked the main work efforts from previous IETF BOFs, and we're trying to identify what that might lead to, what the IETF might do, as well as what is already happening that maybe people have noticed, failed to notice. So on top of that, for new activities, we're trying to understand if the IETF has the right people and enough of the right people to do some work. Here is our agenda. It's been published for quite a long time. I think it's all quiet and good. I will just give a moment for anyone to leap up and shout, "No, no, you've got it wrong."
Considering we have a very tight schedule, so the chairs will really enforce the 10-minute time limit for the 6 presentations.
Usama, please say something.
Yeah, hello. I would just like to repeat what I said on the list. I was not happy that the security topic was removed. I do believe that the security topic is really, really important one for all these efforts. I had side meetings in the past, and I would have liked at least Arnaud or sorry, who was it? Peter to actually give something about it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Osama. I'm hoping, well, actually, I know that many of these individual presentations mention security, and I'd ask everybody to keep security in mind all the way through the meeting and maybe bring it up in the discussion session. So there is a mailing list at the moment that we're using for Catalyst. We've kind of hijacked it. There are, when I wrote the slide, 14, but it's gone up to 16 related side meetings. You can find them on the wiki. Except it's not a wiki, but you know what I mean. And there are very many IDs that are relevant. We started to try to list them out, and we decided that missing people was more offensive than not listing them at all. So I urge you to go to the mailing lists and the data tracker to find out about them. Just a reminder about process. Side meetings are not a formal part of the IETF. They do not represent IETF work. They're no way policed by the IESG, and anyone can have a side meeting. Additionally, all of the areas have some form of dispatch function where you can take your new ideas and new work. There are some mailing lists already, and if you've got a really good idea for a focused piece of work, there's plenty of scope to talk with your ADs and propose a BOF. This is nothing new, but it's worth remembering in the Catalyst context. So putting this slide up now, and we'll come back to it during the discussion. These are the sort of things that we should have in our minds as we go through the presentations. And then a last point is it is a very full agenda. We will be curtailing everybody's 10-minute slots at 10 minutes. Sorry if that means you miss your important point. Please try to regulate your own time. And then during the open discussion, the chairs would ask you to be really focused, work out what it is you want to say before you come to the mic, try to keep yourself to 30 seconds so that everybody gets a chance to talk. All right, we'll leap into the meeting, and I see Cullen already hovering.
First, let me just thank the chairs for setting up this whole meeting and getting this going. It's really good. And I'm going to try and keep this as brief as possible because I do think the most interesting parts of this are going to be all of the discussions we have at the end and the questions. So I'm trying to minimize time here. Next slide, please. Okay, so there has been some side meetings labeled AI protocols. It's always hard to figure out the right names for these things. Everything's AI protocols. But what we're trying to do is form a charter around some specific work that's a little bit around service invocation, the type of stuff that you see in MCP, session protocol for AI agents, other things, the type of things that you see in these A to A protocols. And as a bit of a status update from that, one of the things I'll say is there has been active discussions with members of those existing standards and documentations with the people in those communities about what parts make sense to split apart and bring to the IETF or not bring to the IETF. And those are proceeding, and I think that does make sense to bring some of this work to the IETF. But that's a little bit why there's been some level of delay of sort of figuring out, how those types of things are going. Also very interested in, we originally described it as humans in the loop, but really it's like, how do you stop agents for, how do we make sure that they have the right, approval and backup to do whatever they're going to do? It's a very hard problem. There's also some work going on around various uses of tokens and how they're delegated and how they're constrained. Much of this stuff might line up better in existing working groups inside IETF, so we're trying to figure out some of those works as well. But those are the sort of main chunks. There's a strawman charter. We really appreciate input and feedback on the strawman charters. We're trying to bring this together. And it is, targeted at trying to get to a more concrete BOF by Vienna is the hope for this right now. So next slide. So I mentioned some of the, other working groups and areas, but this is one of the other things is that's going on is trying to figure out where each one of these pieces makes sense. Is it a new working group? Is it an existing working group? How do we bring this all together? And everybody has a slightly different idea of what the work is, and thus have a slightly different idea of what might, where's the best place to do it. But it's starting to gel together. Some of that's coming along, and you'll see more of that if you go over to the agent-to-agent list. Next slide. Okay. At high risk of missing out really important drafts, we tried to list some of the important drafts here. If your draft is not there, it does not mean anything. But we are trying to get some things of information that's related to this so people can be aware of it. And glad to, if there's something that should have been on the slide that wasn't, make sure it gets mailed to the agent-to-agent list. We had a meeting yesterday or 2 days ago on this topic a little bit, and it got some more input from various people and some direction on some of that. So there's some active work going on. Here's one of the many side meetings. But again, I think the core thing is at this point really trying to simplify and refine the charter to be some size, some chunk of work that's not boiling a whole ocean, that's relatively small and can make progress on. Next slide. And really, this is my ask here is contribute to what you think should be on the charter and how it works. And keep in mind that this work is not trying to cover all the things we need to standardize with AI. It's trying to pick off a small set of ones that we thought would be useful. Mailing list discussion there. And we're also working with the other communities that are building many of the implementations on this is what we're trying to bring in those groups right now and make sure that we've got the right split of what they see of what would be good for the IETF to standardize, what would be good for other places to standardize, and what would be good to not be standardized at all. So with that, next slide. I open to questions, or actually I should ask the chairs how they want to deal with questions to later or now. And certainly any clarifying questions I'm open to right now.
Yeah, I think we take clarifying questions now, but the discussion in the big section at the end.
Super. Okay. Well, I don't see anyone in the queue, so thank you very much and look forward to talking to people about this and seeing you on the list.
Thank you, Cullen. Thank you for being brief. I hope everybody got that message from you, and we will move on to our second slot. That's good.
Hi everyone, Rashmit here from Huawei Canada. Network architecture for AI ecosystem. You've been seeing me in different side meetings talking about this AI ecosystem. And the message is basically is that agent is one component of this ecosystem. There are other things that in it, and we need to actually make sure we address the specifics of the agents within the realm, and then what's common between agents and the rest of the AI entities in the network in their respective arena. Main purpose of the work is basically the draft that he proposed in Madrid talked about a consumer provider overlay network architecture that supports agentic interactions, AI training workflows, AI inference workflows, discovery of ecosystem components, cross-domain interoperability. The proposed architecture serves as to highlight the area that requires to be standardized. It's not meant actually as a system standardization proposal. So we are just putting that architecture in there to show what are the opportunities for standardization within IETF. So what we hope to achieve is to identify AI ecosystem standardization opportunities in IETF, identify common work items and their respective potential alternative discussion groups, help distinguish agent-specific work items for those that agents have in common from the ones that actually agents have in common with the rest of the ecosystem, and basically help establishing a working group that addresses each topic on its own. Essentially, we want to do what IETF does best, compartmentalize the problems and basically tackle each problem in this specific venue. So this is the big picture. It just basically is talking about this overlay network that we put together. Again, it's not for standardization itself. It's just showing what are the opportunities to get the standardization job going. It's, as I said, the consumer and the provider network. And on the right-hand side is the core of the network that provides these services via different protocols, which is a control plane, data plane, and OEM plane. And underneath, we got the enablers like the existing IP network, mobile systems, and so on. So work that might be done in IETF. So agent-specific work is standardizing agent-specific communication protocols, session management, multimodal data plane, and APIs. These are the essential part of the they're very specific to agents. There are other stuff that are as important, but they are considered common that can be tackled in a bigger scope. Discovery, for example, is one of them. Authorization, authentication. These are all basically things that other components within the AI network, like resources, like data sets, like models, they have in common with the agents. So we can tackle them separately and basically make sure that we have a top-down design that actually works for every one of them. AI services, common work items, as I said, develop vehicles and mechanisms related to AI network frameworks, such as discovery, registration, and so on. Potential IETF venue where the work might be done. The area is basically art. I think art might be a good place to start. And then there are some existing working groups that we have to take a look into and see what each other item, for example, authorization, registrations, authentication, where do these fit basically, and try to reuse the existing working group as much as we can, and then realize what gap is out there, and then maybe try to create a new working group. The new working groups that there is a proposal in the AI proto is the one that is being proposed, which we think that we should go forward to handle the communication aspects of the agents. These are specific things to agents that needs to be done. They are not having this. They do not share this with the rest of the ecosystem. Like a data node, for example, in the AI ecosystem does not need the communication that the agent-to-agent requires. Work that has been done so far, there have been several side meetings from IETF 122. There are existing ideas that I tried to list the relevant ones here. I'm sorry that if I missed anything here, it wasn't on purpose. I tried to actually just capture the most relevant ones here. Discussion venues so far, we have seen mailing lists, agent-to-agent DMSC, side meetings, conference call. And what the plan is for this, we had already our side meeting for the AI ecosystem and discovery. We talked about why discovery could be basically, we use discovery as an example to show what is common between all these different components in the AI ecosystem. That agents is one of them, basically. So future PRAM, get the working group going, and try to actually do some work, because other standardization bodies like 3GPP are counting on us to make sure that we deliver some protocols for them so that they can actually put the agents in their network and start getting them do some work in their network. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Don't see anyone coming to the queue. So that's great. And we will move on. And yeah, Meet Echo, if you could try restarting the display, that might or might not fix the timers.
Meet Echo, are you doing something? I don't have control of the screen anymore.
Which I would type to Meet Echo, only when I type in Meet Echo, it's not coming up. Oh. Nick, in any case, do come up and you can do a little dance or tell us your life history while we try to sort this out.
Adrian, should I walk over and go poke Meet Echo?
Well, I was chatting with them,
Yeah.
so they're aware, and they should be able to should be listening in.
Oh, Nick, well, Meet Echo is fixing the problem. Maybe you get two extra minutes. So maybe you can start with some background, introduce your project.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Williams. If you've been coming to a lot of the AI side meetings since Madrid, you're probably sick of hearing me talk, and I am as well. But I want to talk to you a little bit about how our co-author group and other co-author groups are thinking about how AI agents might find one another on the internet. Essentially, we see that there are a few different philosophies that come to enabling AI agents to find one another. We can build a totally new protocol that allows us to add capabilities that many protocols don't have today, including potentially auth and security considerations. We can utilize existing protocols and try and add some capabilities specific to what an AI workload might require for discovery. And then last but not least, we can offload the responsibility of that discovery and development effort to the AI labs, hyperscalers, and those that are most often working in this space. I've seen some discussion in the Meet Echo chat, and it is notable that many of the big AI labs are not currently participating in these standards development tracks. So the question, or rather the example that I like to talk to IETF participants about is, if we look at the age verification tools that are being enacted by certain countries on the internet, the IETF has the capability, and the ITU and other standards development orgs have the capability to participate, but now it's a little too late. AI discovery is not quite the same. It isn't necessarily yet too late, but should we choose to not have the right venue, like a working group, to discuss the work that needs to be done, we are ceding the capabilities of building the technical requirements and the problem space to other organizations that may not share the same charter and mission statement as the IETF. So with that, I'll talk about my co-authorship group's opinion on this problem and talk about some of the related work that's gone into it so far. So when we look at DNS aid, it's very simple. We like the concept of reutilizing what currently exists on the internet as much as possible, because if we wait to develop a brand new protocol, we then cede all of the development power that the IETF has historically utilized to, again, other organizations. Specifically, why we like DNS, there is a federated model that enforces global uniqueness, and this promotes individual operator sovereignty. An individual or an organization can list their own agents under their own namespace without the need to go through an intermediary third party, which prevents fragmentation. This creates a well-known entry point to discover additional services and kick off application handshakes and exchanges, much like how existing applications on the internet exist today. Last but not least, the development efforts are spread across a number of different groups. And once again, it is a technology that is well understood by enterprises today. For the record, there are probably 5 or 6 different DNS-based AI agent discovery drafts that exist today. There was a side meeting yesterday where C and Nick presented theirs. Balaj and the agent community, he's virtual and Meet Echo. They actually just published a draft yesterday. But ultimately, it seems like there are a number of groups here that understand the value add of being able to use something right now, today, to solve a problem that does exist on the internet. Specifically, when it comes to our draft, we've been talking about it since 123 in Madrid. We had a side meeting at Montreal. We received feedback that there's metadata that can't be expressed in DNS. So for example, a model card might have an attestation of everything that agent is trained on in its base model. That probably is not a great thing to put in the DNS. So if you use that as a parameter inside of a DNS record, you have the capability for clients to go and discover the minimum viable, what they need to know that something exists. And then if they need to pull additional information about the agent that they know exists, you have a link to its full manifest, if you will. What's different about our draft compared to other DNS-based drafts is we also tried to split the problem space of what discovery might look like. If you know the service and the domain, in this case, chat._agents.example.com, that's a very easy problem to solve with DNS. We believe that the majority of the internet use today, most people know where they're going. If you don't know the service or you don't know the domain, that becomes a challenge. You'll need a search engine, you'll need an index, a registry. You'll need some way for an organization to tell you about all the agents they have. That's not necessarily as good of a thing for DNS to solve. So we're trying to split out what we believe the majority of the use cases versus future standardization efforts within our draft. The other challenge is if we decide to go with a DNS-based model where we use service parameters within service B records, and we use attribute leaf zones like _agents, and we ask IANA to reserve it, it needs to go to a board every time that there's a new innovation and a new standardization effort of what must be in a record, which may delay adoption. When we talk about why we believe the IETF is a great place to have this discussion, there is a bunch of DNS expertise. There are many different working groups. There are many different groups that are talking about some of the capabilities and extensibility that DNS might have in future applications. Specifically, when it comes to AI agent discovery, yes, indeed, we are missing some key players here, but ultimately, if we decide that we should only allow those groups in a vacuum to decide what AI agent discovery looks like, it may not be of benefit to the end users of the internet at scale. And that is something that the IETF should flatly reject and decide to act on. As far as where our co-author group would like to see this work occur, there's a big meeting tomorrow with DNS Op during DNS Dispatch where we're talking about the future of what DNS Op is going to look like, where there's going to be potentially a maintenance group, an applications group, and other groups that are going to be talking about different pieces of the DNS. There's also opportunity to modify the charter for AI Proto. It sounds like so far that this is not something that the IETF is considering. Or we would need potentially an AD champion to stand up a special and very, very focused working group. The challenge is the IETF, we've been talking about AI agent discovery since before Madrid. So we're coming up on over a year where we still do not have a landing place to do this work and actually publish RFCs. If we wait, let's say we want to do a BOF that forms a working group in Vienna, and then that working group exists by San Francisco in November, we have once again ceded 6 to 9 months of opportunity to be doing this work. We are years behind potentially. So our co-author group is trying to incite a call to action, a sense of urgency, a opportunity to have a venue to focus on this work. Today, the agent-to-agent mailing list covers a lot of topics. It covers security and auth and the standardization of model card efforts and how to describe agents, and those things are all great, and that's work that needs to be done. But when we're talking about purely discovery, that is a problem that exists right now. It is a problem that can be mostly solved right now. And I'm going to put air quotes on mostly because we know that there's some challenges. The way that I think about it is if we have two options, right? DNS today, it's deployed, and so it has, it looks like this of what it can cover. But the ceiling of where it can go is a little bit limited because AI work naturally is going to diverge from what DNS is capable of. But again, it has broad coverage today. A non-existing protocol, the ceiling is much higher because we can build it to be exactly what AI work needs. But the time to get it to scale is the challenge. And should the IETF decide that this is not something that we should do, we're going to run into the same dysfunction that we potentially see with some technologies that I know that many internet users are unhappy with worldwide. When we talk about future plans, there could potentially be a BOF in Vienna. There could potentially be opportunities to have the working groups formed by November, but again, our opinion is that this is going to prevent us from doing the work that desperately needs to be done. There are, and it looks like I forgot a link, there's an agent community that's working on a GTLD. There are a bunch of different groups that are working on DNS-based agentic discovery and capability descriptors within DNS. But ultimately, due to my and some of my co-authors' inexperience in the IETF, we don't know how to ask for how to get a place for this work to naturally land. And it seems like some of the options for various reasons aren't perfect yet. So really looking forward to collaborating with everybody on Thursday and seeing if the recharter of DNS op ultimately allows the work to happen. But if you have thoughts, if you're interested in doing this type of work, we're very, very open to collaboration. And as mentioned, there are a bunch of DNS-based drafts. So a lot of our authorship groups are continually working on and continually evolving this. So if this is a place that you'd like to contribute, please reach out to us, find any of these groups on the mailing list. There's a lot of productivity happening in the DNS-based agentic AI discovery space here at the IETF. That's my last slide. If there are questions.
Thank you, Nick. Seeing the queue not... Oh, we do have two. So people in the queue are going to give you a chance, but remember, brief and clarification rather than debate. Eka.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little confused. Can you explain to me like what the use case is?
Eka, hold on a minute. I can hear you as an incredibly faint and distant voice, which is sort of unusual. I suspect that the remote room is not picking up audio properly.
Is it better now?
That's better, thank you.
Okay. So I guess I'm still a little lost about the use case. Can you like walk me through, just like briefly speaking, like how do I use this thing? What am I trying to do and how do I use it? Like in 30 seconds.
So you're trying to have an agent, potentially, let's call it customer service. You want to advertise your customer service agent to the internet so people can use it and ask it questions, etc. The way that
Okay,
this
but
was,
how do those people discover it? Like why are those people? Are those people like I want to find some customer service agent? Or are they like I want to find the one associated with United.com? What are they trying to do?
so the way that we split the use case in discovery status is any of the above. So yes, you potentially could be looking for specifically customer service at united.com. You could be looking for any agent that is doing image to text. You could be looking for any agent that united.com has, or it could be completely undefined and you're looking for a search engine like component to suggest to you. But any of those options are included in the scope of this draft.
Thank you.
Yep.
Jim Reed. Interesting presentation, and I can see there's all sorts of ramifications in how this work could unfold. My advice here, though, is try not to get too entangled in what might or might not be happening with the DNS-related working groups, because that whole situation is getting into a state of flux at the moment. There's mumbling about having a DNS dispatch function somewhere. Will that be a new working group or not? Well, we're not quite sure yet. And so I think the best thing to do is to try and proceed to spin up your working group as quickly as practical as possible, and perhaps have a conversation with the area directors about how best to do that, rather than trying to figure out how to plug it into the existing DNS working group structures. Cheers.
Thanks, Jim. Yeah, I think when I saw a Meet Echo comment that was basically like, a lot of the AI labs aren't here. And again, we don't have a landing place for them to be here. So until we create the space to get them to want to be able to do work here, we're going to run into this problem.
Yeah, and I think there may be some education there too. If we start talking too much about BOFs and working group forming BOFs and all the rest of that, it's just going to further deter these people from taking part.
Yep. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nick. Kihan, where are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kohan from China Mobile. So I'm going to introduce some agent communications gap analysis and way forward. So the major purpose for us is to derive protocol requirements for and gap analysis for agent protocols. So in our two past side meetings, we have introduced some a mobile network use case like embodied AI collaboration, massive IoT, and autonomous vehicles. So we think these use cases are different from the AI workload running in cloud service environments. We also see that some key questions raised in the chat box just now, and also mainly asking about the key difference from AI agent to traditional apps. So at least from our perspective on mobile network, we think that you need to understand, the AI agent, its relationship with the user, and the environment and local and physical device it runs, and also, the complex interaction between user to agent, agent to use another agent, and another agent to tools and also other users. So the complex interactions make the mobile network agent use cases quite different from the AI workload and cloud services and also traditional apps when agents make, decisions and that are undeterministic. So what our goal is to, introduce these use cases and then foster cross-domain interactions, and then, considering about the network dynamics and the network diversities and foster interoperability when we consider about the architect and the protocol design for agent. So the outcomes for our side meetings to achieve consensus on agent protocols needs and also establish some working streams. We saw many pieces of agent, the problem space may very large. So we want to ask that if we can achieve consensus on in parallel working streams, for example, enabling parallel process on many key areas simultaneously or prioritize urgent tasks one by one. So our work also, for the early synchronization, from IETF with 3GPP. You know, last week 3GPP just completed a technical report on 6G use cases and requirements, but the solution design is still at very, very early stage. So what we want to do is just want to introduce some requirements here. So we have analyzed some, key enablers for cross-domain interactions for agents like digital identity management, dynamic group communication, and also interaction and collaboration. So these key enablers are pointing out to underlying protocol requirements like you need to, consider about agent identity, how you define the identifier, should it be binding with your user, and also you need to consider about authentication and delegated authorization. And also you need to consider about agent discovery as mentioned by Nick, agent registration, and also if you really want to, discover the agent by its skills. And also we want to consider about like session management. You need to consider about new session semantics. As I explained that the agent interactions are very complex. Then you need to introduce more like session semantics and also like timeout, reconnection, recovery, etc. And also underlying data transport. You need to, from the protocol layer, you need to consider about message ordering and prioritize the message like critical message or not low priority messages for agent interactions. So what we think this work can be done in IETF, like these 4 main items, like the agent identity and authentication and authorization can be done in existing working groups, maybe like WAMSI and AUT and OAuth in SEC area. And agent discovery may be in interest in end and ops and AUT area. And session management and multi-model data transport can be, maybe we need a new working group. And AI Pro, the Strawman charter is good, but needs some revisions. We think the major we have made some revision on the list. I think we think that the deliverables should care more about cross-domain interactions and interoperable features. For example, like you definitely need more use cases, taxonomies, and framework. And also, we need common abstractions to avoid that, some fragmented implementations. So the data transport may be of interest in existing working groups like mock, web transport, and Musk. So it needs some, collaboration across areas like wheat and art. Yes, so a quick summary of our previous work and also foresee the next steps. So we have down side means. You can find the materials here. And also we have some drafts on the line under the CATALIST working group, problem space analysis, and some use cases and requirements draft in a framework draft on 6G relevance. It's for informational, so you can refer it. And if you don't quite understand the use case, you can get some information there. And the discussion will happen in A list. And also, no quick note that there will be another side meeting just after this Catalyst BOF in Hunan room, a small room, I think. So if you want to keep discussions on more technical details of the draft above, you can go there. Welcome you. So our attention, our intention is to, frame IETF's problem space better, and gather more proponents, and the revision charter, and get, very clear scope, and maybe after to formulate protocol design team. Okay, thank you.
Very good, thank you. The queue appears to be empty, so we will move on to the next presentation. Thank you, Kihan.
Thank you. I say minutes.
I'm glad I've got you.
Hello, Edgar. I'm Adrian from Telecom. Here I just represent all the proponents from the foreign company to demonstrate our progress for the DMSA. I think the dynamic multi-agent security collaboration, the forward, point out the key character of the future internet of the agent. So the reason that we propose the DMS is we want to standardize or find the architecture and the protocol suite for one manageable and operational AI agent collaboration network. And as we all know, the internet is provided the service provider and also the cloud provider. I think in future, the internet agent also should be connected, provided by also the service provider and the cloud provider. So our final aim is want to build one common infrastructure and facilitate the collaboration among the agent from the different management domain. And here we want to propose based on AI agent gateway. I will explain the reason later. From the taking point of view for the DMS, here we draw a simple graph to demonstrate the overall architecture for the protocol. We think in future we will have two kind of AI agent gateway. AI agent. The one is we call it the server-side agent. The other is the client-side agent. For the server-side agent, we think the DNS-based solution may be suitable and maybe extensible to cover the current requirement. But for the client-side agent, we think we need the agent gateway device to aggregate the requirement from the agent. So we design the for future architecture based on the agent gateway. In this architecture, you can see the user behind the agent and the agent behind the agent gateway. So to begin the communication between the agent should be registered with the agent gateway, and the agent gateway forward such request to the external authentication center. And the agent gateway will act as the though for find the suitable communication peer, we call it the semantic routing. So besides the protocol between the agent, we need also the protocol between the agent and the agent gateway. And even we need also the protocol between the agent gateways, because we need to synthesize the register information between the agent gateway. So this is our overall consideration for the future protocol suite. We have also finished one draft to describe the necessary protocols, and the related protocol proposal has also been provided in the DMSA venue. Here we just even for the agent communication, we should be aware that the semantic routing and nature language usage may be one emerged requirement or the for the future communications. So we also consider the semantic routing and the natural language usage among the agent collaborations. So as I said, for the in future for the positional work in IETF and for the server-side agent discovery, we think the DNS-based solution may be suitable. But for the agent gateway-based solutions, we need to design some new protocols to fulfill the collaboration tasks. And because the kind of the communication located in the on the application layers, we think it is such work should be located in the other areas. And for the security requirement, we think the requirement can be discussed within the newly working group, as the related standard should be dispatched to the relative second working group. So here we want to propose to establish a new working group for the DMSA. And from the right side of the graph, we can see in future, the semantic layer and the semantic routine is one important part for the agent communications. For example, the natural language communication from the IBM will be present in tomorrow's side meeting. We will introduce the proposal from theirs. We have also held several side meetings in the past IETF meetings, and currently we have about all term proposals that are listed in related to the DMS solutions, and we have established the DMS's the mail list for the future discussions. And after this board list, both meeting, we will hold two side meetings. One is this afternoon, another is tomorrow morning, and we plan to collaborate with others to propose them both in the next IETF meetings. Here is our information of the DMSA, and we have various solutions related to the agent gateway based proposal. For example, the task protocol and the intent-based architecture and the ontology-based semantic interaction. We also some initial proposal for the security analysis for the agent communication, and yeah, that's all. So if you interested in the specific proposal, we encourage you to participate in the side meetings in this afternoon and tomorrow's, and to discuss more in details. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. Thanks for staying inside the timing. The queue looks empty, so we'll move on. Thanks.
Not empty.
No, so whoa. We have Meet Echo. We have Meet Echo to join the queues. If you want to join and ask a question, then please use Meet Echo so everybody knows who you are. Okay, I think we'll run with Tuolis then.
Right. Good morning. My name is Tuolis Eckert with FutureWay. Wanted to talk about agent communication, internet protocol, primarily first focusing on private network solutions, but not limited to that. And where we've been coming from is looking in how a lot of agent-to-agent communication will evolve out of something that so far has been HTTP business-to-business or business-to-customer communication. And then when we looked at how that is actually being built, we recognized that there's a humongous number of variously named intermediate processing nodes of HTTP in these solutions, load balancer, caches, reverse proxy, firewall, WAF, and so on, right? So, one of the big problems that we've been having with this is that these were afterthoughts. They were not in the original design goals of HTTP. It was just being used for everything. If we have the opportunity for this new agent-to-agent communication space to build something new as a new layer, not changing the HTTP end-to-end layer, but doing these things in a better, simpler way, especially for us after many of these experience in a way that it also can be done in very high-speed processing in network devices. I've been living through firewalls being thrown out of high-frequency trading in the finance market, and caches having all type of problems when instead of web pages, there were gigabits of video streams being processed, right? So yes, we have proven with HTTP that we can make pigs fly, but the question is whether we want to repeat that effort going forward, or whether we can take all the things we've learned and create an appropriate intermediate node processing layer below our end-to-end HTTP layer. So the reference use case that we started out prototyping on with the partners in China is the financial tech industry. So if you look at any individual banking transaction that you may be doing from your phone, it involves typically a lot of players and a lot of communication happening, right? The bank the application, the merchant provider, the seller, and that is all everything that these players in that financial tech market want to evolve from pure to HTTP communication into agent-to-agent communication for more flexibility and also resilience against a lot of the fragility that happens in these, let's call it encoding-rich B2B protocols. And obviously, there is a lot of security problems in that. There is also the need for a lot of regulation, right? So intermediate observers from regulatories, from states need to be able to observe all the transactions. There is also in the network a lot of requirements for path routing. Look into solutions like Scion that have been embodying the rules like stay in country or stay in region, for example, and obviously resource guarantees. So ultimately, these are solutions where the involved parties would really like to have a trusted third party outsourcing to, and those could exactly be the network operators. And down there, there's the picture showing how this would be complicated with the existing technologies we have just over the internet. And so here on the next slide, we're showing how we're imagining this to be unified by leveraging advanced agent-to-agent communication services using our new ACIP agent communication internet protocol services and in the service provider extending, so to speak, existing designs and approaches for VPNs, layer 2, layer 3 VPN, IPsec VPNs, and obviously in a way that it could ultimately go in-band into the established hardware processing forwarding engines at a terabit speed, but obviously starting out as anything as, put on a stick software-based forwarders in the network. And then on the protocol layer, we've been thinking about something like name-based forwarding, so that basically the skill, the identity of the entities that you're addressing become the addresses in the packet. We've done similar things. Think about NDN, named data networking. Now it's named agent networking, if you want to speak that way. And then, of course, the even more important part is to be able, in the high-speed processing, also look at policy aspects. Something, for example, we've totally failed in IPv6 extension headers or something like that. So things like guardrails, things like tokens that really have an impact on the communication policies, they really need to be something we would really like to see encoded in a way that we can process them on intermediate hops that are aware of them. And also inserting and deleting them so that you can establish policy for communication from the people responsible for them and not necessarily from an agent that you may not want to trust anyhow. So what are the IETF work considerations? So yes, ASIP as a protocol layer, that's something we would like to introduce. Obviously, there's always a lot of control plane. We'd love to reuse as much as possible. Where to do things in the IETF? Well, always a good question. Int area would be a great way if necessary, and this becomes too large, do new working groups. And of course, there should be work we can leverage even from the research side. So we'll have to see about that. We've been organizing ourselves primarily through site meetings that we've been holding for enterprise topics because those are the customers of interest. And we have one on Thursday evening at 6 p.m., so you're welcome to join. There's also a meeting on security aspects, not limited to ASIP. And again, the work goals are we want to create AI service offerings for network operators to serve the AI to AI community, want to make it work in high-speed networking, and then, of course, also reuse as much as possible everything we've already know and understand in the IETF. And last but not least, on popular demand, an advertising slide on security. So this is from Peter, and that's the site meeting tomorrow in the afternoon. And I think it's fair to say the IETF already has a huge number of AI agent relevant work going on in various working groups. More is needed. Whether it fits the working group is something to be looked into. And there are really very interesting new challenges that come with AI agents. For example, the problem of blast radius amplification, when an AI agent is being attacked and itself has a lot of credentials to do nasty things. That's something we've been seeing. And then obviously the problem of semantic attacks, where you're not simply attacking by the structure, but by really what you're saying. And I'm happy to send to the list a very nice example of that. And then, yeah, the whole authorization, right? So how do we express guardrails? For myself, you know, a lot of the stuff that we're interested in is the transport path security. And I think we've already been showing a lot of good evolution in that space. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to see you tomorrow, and also enterprise mailing list and agent-to-agent mailing list.
Thank you, Tolis, and thank you for saving us 2 minutes. It's been pointed out to me, as Suresh comes up, that Meet Echo is causing some interesting stability issues, so it may be hard for people to get in the queue. When we come to the discussions section, we will try to give fairness to people who can't get into the Meet Echo queue. Go ahead, Suresh.
Yeah, thank you very much. So as you noticed, there's a lot of side meetings, there's a lot of work proposed in the IETF and stuff, but a lot of the work in this space is happening outside the IETF. So for us to have any chance of success or have anybody to use our proposed solutions, we need to work with people outside the IETF. So I just try to put together a short summary of things that I know about. So this could certainly miss stuff, but with that thing, I'll just start with like one slide. I just have one slide. Thanks, Injan. So there's like some slides after this I'm not going to cover. So there's like people who contributed to like putting like more further links into these things. But there's like a whole bunch of organizations doing very different things in this space. And one of the key organizations, I wouldn't call it an SDO, but an organization is Linux Foundation. So they have a lot of open source stuff happening in this space. And starting off with something that's called the Agentic AI Foundation. So this is something that's been newly created. It's like close to end of last year, so it's a couple of months old. So it's got some interesting projects going on here. And if you're working in this space, you do know that MCP is probably the biggest protocol in this space. So it's done from an open community. So there's like some kind of connection to Linux Foundation, but it's also an organization that's also sitting outside, like managing the protocol. So there's going to be a summit next month on this. So our goal is to look at what's in the market, right? Like, and what is getting the adoption, and try to do solutions that both address the needs that they really have, and to also work with those communities to make sure that they are willing to consume or whatever we produce. Because without that, we're just going to have a bunch of RFCs that nobody's ever going to use. And so if you look at it, MCP is like really a LLM to tool kind of protocol, right? And agent to agent is like a similar version of it, where like it's communication between agents. So it's like more squarely fits in the agent to agent stuff that we're talking about here. But MCP also has like serious things that we have to consider here. And there's also some framework like agency. It's got like a lot of messaging protocols and authentication things. So that's like completely another framework that's sitting in there. And all these things sit in the Linux Foundation. So a bunch of the people who are working on this, we've been trying to reach out to the people and try to talk to them, but there's also aspirations from the Linux Foundation to do some of the governance themselves. So we kind of have to figure out how we work with them. And one of the complaints that I think it's fairly shared even among the IETF people here is the IETF is slow, and these things are developing really fast. So we are trying to look at for things that when the growth of the protocol starts to slow down. So when it gets more mature and there's a set of features that can be standardized, that's when we kind of start talking to them and ask them to come here and do the building blocks. There's also IEEE. They have something standard for LLM agent interfaces, which is you cannot get the standard for free, I believe, but it's interesting and it's in the same space, right? Like how do agents talk to each other and to tool interfaces and stuff and so on. And ISO also has like a SC42 that works on artificial intelligence. Again, I got pointed to this. I managed to get this document, but these are not like open documents that you can get. So unless your company has like, or you have some other way of getting this document, this is not something we can access, but they are certainly doing work in this space. And W3C has like a community group. So community group is like, I don't know, somebody's going to come beat me up on it, but it's more like a side meeting rather than like a, I would say side meeting, but think of it as a BOF or side meeting, something like that. Like it's not like a very official thing, but they're also doing some work on there. And ITUT is doing a whole bunch of stuff on agentic AI security. Arno is in the room somewhere. I hope he's here. So like if Arno's waving in the back, so there's like quite a bit of work that's happened in the agentic AI security space. So go talk to Arno if you have further questions on this. So there's like a lot of body of work in SG17. And on the 3GPP side, they're like kind of working on two kind of angles, right? Like how AI is getting used for the networks themselves. So if you go back to Adrian's slides in the beginning, right? AI for networking and networking for AI. So the 3GPP is also taking this like two-prong approach, how the agentic AI can like help the network and how the network can be used to connect the agents. So it's like the two things. So if you have further questions, Zahed sitting over there and Lionel here, like, and Charles, if he's in the room, can like provide like further input on the 3GPP stuff. So I do have a little bit of stuff that Zahed contributed, like with further details in the end of the slides. So if you go to the meeting materials, you can look at it. So that's the 3GPP angle into it. And then there's the confidential computing consortium. They have a attestation SIG. So they're like doing a security analysis of the agentic AI stuff. So if you want to know further about it, like Usama, like who's like very active in the chat, and he had a side meeting here as well, so you can go talk to him. There's again further links in the slides. I don't want to go through each of those links because I only have 10 minutes. So and same for the Global Alliance for Genomics and Health. Like again, talk to Usama. There's like they have a test suite that's pretty interesting. There's like a like code you can actually look at and run through things. So that is also that's something that's linked in the slides outside. And so, but my bottom line is there's like a whole bunch of work happening outside the IETF. And if we don't consider that, we're going to look like fools when we kind of go and do their own thing without considering their requirements. And how do we kind of feedback what we produce to them? So that's my spiel. So any questions?
Thank you for taking that on for us, Suresh. Jim is in the queue.
Jim Reid, thanks for this, Suresh. I think this is fascinating considering there's so many organisations dabbling in this space. And this is probably more of a question for the IEBs. Perhaps they need to consider how the IETF is going to interact with all these organisations. And probably a classical liaison model is maybe not the way to go there because the fact there are so many diverse groups involved. I don't have any answers, unfortunately, but I'm just saying that perhaps I have to think of a new approach to try and deal with the interaction and cooperation and communication between all these various bodies. Thanks.
Sounds good. Thank you. Really good point, Jim. So there's like one thing I can answer you right about. Like, so there's this thing, the ITU, ISO, and IEC, they've starting putting together something called the World's AI Standards Exchange Database. So we are trying to put whatever we produce into that. So right now there's not much in there, but like I can probably provide a link to the list afterwards, like on what kind of stuff is in there. At least our goal is like, if we have stuff that's relevant to AI standards, we want to throw that in there. So like the same way, like I went and discovered these things, somebody should be able to discover the stuff that IETF does, right? So that's kind of at least the first step on what you do. It's certainly not sufficient, but at least like in this AI Standards Exchange database, we can actually throw in the stuff. And I do have write access into it, like, and I did talk to the people who maintain it, so I can actually put stuff. So if you have things that you think is relevant to AI stuff for other organizations to look at, please feel free to send me a pointer. And I can certainly put that in, but IETF stuff only, right? Like IETF, IRTF related stuff, fine. Other organizations, no, not through me. Yeah.
Sure thing, but I think the broader issue is then how do we try to avoid forum shopping, double dipping, and all these other kind of unfortunate things that could come along, especially we've got a whole bunch of all these other groups who may not be aware of what's going on in the other ones.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Rashmit.
Suresh, do we have any view in terms of how are we going to take MCP and A2A and get it working in IETF? Or is the plan is that it's going to stay open source, and then if that's the case, What happens to organizations like 3GPP that they need some sort of standardization around these protocols?
So right now, like the efforts are like pretty much individual. So like I have certainly reached out, like Cullen, Jonathan started off like reaching out to the A2A people. So if you might notice, like in the Montreal meeting, the whole TSC of the agent-to-agent protocol, they showed up here. So they were kind of interested in looking at what the stuff is. But it's right now, it's like individual outreach. It's not like we as an organization haven't done any outreach, but like I think like Dapeng, me, like Cullen, Jonathan, we talked to the MCP people as well, but it's like work in progress. So we, as I said, like we kind of don't want to move forward if we don't have commitment on somebody to like tell us what they need and what they want to use.
Yeah, thank you.
Arno.
Oops. Hi, so Arnaud, back to the point that Jim raised on the issue of liaison statement and so on. So I think there is a asymmetry in what we are doing. And so the first thing I want to say is that, first of all, is the good intention to improve that collaboration that I could see. That's great. I think we just need to experiment a bit more. The liaison statement problem is that, at least on the Group 17 side, is because we have member states as member states. And they cannot understand anything that is not through a transaction, because that's the way they work. The flip side is that on our side here, we have not really a practice for doing this. And this is something I think we should discuss at AAB on how we do that. But back to the collaboration, there are multiple aspects. The Exchange database is one thing. The liaison statement is another thing. The discussions between the leadership of two organizations is something super important. The collaboration between people is important. But we have as well a problem of tools that are not there. If, for example, and I see absolutely how SG17 could work with IETF on certain things, we have no mechanism to do a common text. And we need to explore that. That's as simple as that, and that's urgent. I will leave it.
Thank you, Arno. Eden, do you mind if I respond briefly to him, like 30 seconds? So I think like one big thing like that we noticed like is that in the IETF, like for us to send something back, we somehow need to find consensus on what we send back, right? Like, so it's not easy for just the leadership to send something. So we need to judge consensus, since like all these efforts are like pretty like nascent, like for lack of a better term. It's very hard for us to send something back from our side. So like once we have some work ongoing, I think this is going to improve. But like there's like something Miri and I are updating the liaison RFCs, and there we specifically talk about consensus, right? Because if IETF needs to send an LS, it means that we need to gather consensus from somewhere, the community, right? And that's the slight difference between a lot of these other orgs, which are like kind of leadership can do the stuff versus like IETF, where we kind of always go ground up to the thing. So I just wanted to point that out, but yes, your point is well made. Thank you.
Yeah, just to answer on that. So in typically an SG17 meeting, I must process 120 liaison. So we have a long experience on that. It must be done by consensus. Yeah. But I could share with you some ways you can get it efficiently and fast.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks.
So Grace, please go. Linda, we're going to move you to the general discussion. So stay in the queue.
So I'm Grace Rahmani. I'm the Executive Director of Decentralized Identity Foundation. We are also under Linux Foundation. We have specifically on the identity issue a Trusted Agents Working Group, and we'd love to collaborate.
Perfect, thank you. And if Adrian and Ingen are okay, if you send me a link, I can put it into the slides in the end of this thing so we can update the slides. Like because I didn't show the slides, it's just additional stuff. So we should be fine to update it. So send me a note.
Great, thank you.
So many thanks, Suresh. And as Suresh is indicating there are more slides. So go look at those slides to find out what information he's gleaned from other organizations. So we move on to the general discussion part. And the reminder here is to try to keep yourself brief and to the point, not deliver a lecture. And also to try to use the Meet Echo queue. I understand that some people are finding that really unstable. If you can't get in the queue, and only if you've really tried, then come and stand at the front mic, and we will try to recognize you in some kind of order. So off we go. First up is Linda.
Um, okay, so my question is, we have so many discussions, so many presenters. I have a feeling different presenter may have a different definition of the agent. What is agent? It would be nice if IETF even have some kind of category, agent category 1, agent category 2. Then we can talk about how do those agents communicate. That would be very useful. Just some suggestions. Otherwise, I feel very fuzzy of what are we talking about.
Ted.
Ted Hardy, sometimes apps guy. I wanted to pick up something that Martin said in the chat, which is we only call it AI until it works. And I think that's a really important insight because when I think about applications, applications have changed an enormous amount in the time I've been on the internet. When I first started in the late 80s, we telnetted to particular mainframes to use applications. Then we had the web. Then we had web applications, which had interactions beyond their own individual resources. And then we had IoT. And one of the interesting things about IoT is the applications then had physical sensors or other devices that were part of the application. And when that happened, we had to think about the network differently. We had to think about the constraints of the applications that were driven by devices that were very small and perhaps had no mains power. And as we come into this, I think we're actually harming ourselves by looking at the component of the application without looking at the application, because I believe they're actually going to be different in different applications. Because when we think about how agents compose themselves, for example, that's very different as a set of capabilities if you're doing it real time, because it means that discoverability and other things don't work in the same way they work on the web. But if we're looking at them in composability for long-term background processes, they actually do end up looking very similar to other ways in which you could build an application to harvest resources and analyze it. So as we think about what we're doing here, I think it's very useful for us to say, what's the application that's going to be built out of this? And what are the consequences of that application's need on the rest of the network? Does it change how authorization or authentication work? Does it change how the network resources are consumed? Does it change how discoverability works? But I don't think that we should be doing that based on just the fact that it contains AI, any more than we should say an energy application or a security application should be considered just IoT, when it's in fact a composition of both those sensors that are the Internet of Things and lots of other things. And I think if we think about what we do as an organization that's cross area, that gap analysis piece of like, this application needs this set of characteristics, is the network delivering that, yes or no, is something that the IETF can do, and leave the actual agent development and other aspects of this to the other organizations which are already well on the way toward it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Dan.
Yeah, Dan Druza. First of all, thanks for putting this together. I think it was a necessary step. The thing that I'm concerned is that right now we're looking at everybody's an expert in a certain domain in IETF, and they say, oh, there's this AI. I think we can solve this problem with the things that I know. And that's kind of what the discussions we have is, they're all over the map. But fundamentally, we're not accounting for the big elephant in the room. Nobody's actually going to do agent to agent for the sake of and the love of AI. They're going to be marketplaces. They're going to be marketplaces with terms and conditions, with, you know, monetary things put in place. And I think when we look, I'm going to pick on discovery, because for me, discovery is something that I think it's, you're not going to have to discover agents on the internet. I don't think any enterprise is going to be crazy. No lawyer is going to let you delegate a task to some agent out there in the internet. So I think we need to look at more like marketplace to marketplace and let them actually drive the requirements rather than and you know, some of them may use the technologies that we're talking here, but eventually we need to take into consideration how are these agents going to interact from a true enterprise point of view, because I don't think this is going to be just kind of wild web like. Yeah, I do think we need to get back to the drawing board, get some clear use cases, not use cases in the context, oh, I have a solution, here's the use case that I think is going to work. No, actually, I think we need some clear use cases that are driving this work. And then, just focus on the key things, not everything. Thank you.
Thanks. Paul. Paul Hoffman.
Sorry, when I got into the queue, there was someone before me. Paul Hoffman. Very briefly, in listening to many of the presentations today, discovery came up, and in all of them, people were saying using the DNS. The DNS is a wonderful naming system. Very flexible, it's hierarchical, wonderful. It sucks at discovery. That is, you can't search for all names that look like this. It really isn't very good for that. So as people are going forwards, I agree discovery is going to be super important here. Please be careful if you are saying that we're going to name things with the DNS, which I would love you to do, wearing many different hats. Don't assume you can do any discovery on DNS names. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Roberta.
Hi, folks. Roberta from Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul. So I just wanted to bring to attention here, I think I saw a lot of faces that were onto, the side meetings and were participating on Montreal. We are forgetting that agents and AI, like the generative type, right? Because we all want to use the generative type for some reason. This generative type has a lot of considerations on reliability that are not being addressed here. And I just wanted to point that we might need to have like a discussion on the basics. Linda, I think, was saying about the definitions of agents and everything. Like, as we are focused on to the other layers, we think about agents as some technology that we already know, that we already covered throughout, the history of technology and the entity here. I don't think that the agents are behaving the way you're thinking they're behaving, and we need to plan when we are speaking about any one of those technologies that we already know. Okay, we need to make plans to understand that agents will be non-deterministic and they have another different set of problem space that will be infinite, that you cannot control the way do you control other stuff, and we need to prepare this on the groups. And I just wanted to point in here because this discussion about agents quality, what they are doing, the metrics that we need, these are I've not been seen, into the proposals and not being understood by the researchers properly. And I want to help. And also, I really think that we should have a coordination activity or maintaining a meeting like this in the future until the working groups and like the proposals are really solved. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Roberta. Adrian.
Yeah, Adrian from China Telecom. I just want to extract the definition from the 3GPP for the AI agent. The AI agent they described it is one automatic intelligent entity that capable of, for example, the interacting with the H environment, acquiring contextual information, reasoning, self-learning, decision making, and executing tasks on behalf of automatically or in collaboration with other agents to achieve a specific goal. So I think we should focus mainly on the embodied AI agent, not the application-based agent. I think, and regarding to the use case, I think there are many promising and interesting use cases in the 3GPP. They help produce the several documents. I think if anyone interested, we can explore them. Okay.
Thank you. Mallory. Oh, there she is.
Sorry, I was on the wrong side of the room. Mallory Nodal. I want to agree with Dan. I think that one way to say what he was saying is there's not a lot of incentive to interoperate AI. Unlike here, there's huge incentives to interoperate. It's kind of why the IETF exists. So maybe that's an opportunity, right? Maybe there's something, maybe there are really basic fundamental reasons why agentic AI needs to interoperate. I think it's worth thinking about what those might be from the perspective of people who really know what that looks like. So that's one comment. But I think the other comment is more on the coordination piece. I also kind of tend to agree with Ted that I don't know that we should be doing things here as much as maybe taking and coordinating participation elsewhere. So because my sense is if you went through this really helpful list that Suresh made of existing places where this is being discussed, we could go to that standards database and look it up. I am guessing that there's a lot of IETF RFCs referenced and tech that's been built on what IETF has made. And it would be really useful, I think, to have smart, incisive expertise from this group in those groups. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Mallory. As Peter comes up, we have 14 people in the queue. Please, everybody, keep your comments succinct.
Hi, this is Peter. I think I see a general coordination gap between the security community and non-security community. I think the non-security community is proposing new designs and protocols. I think this may be, it's kind of cool. And they're emphasizing the importance of security, but not explicitly giving, security requirements or threat modeling. While the security community is trying to understand the use case scenarios and also requirements. So I think this is where the security expert could step in to help them establish a threat modeling because there are different use cases. But before that, I think is the other proponents that are proposing new protocols could really consolidate the use cases because I think I see internet use cases and managed network use cases, and the threat model could be very different, like very public or very consortium-like. So I think that's gonna could be the next step to help security experts step in. Thanks.
Perfect, thanks. Amazingly, we have two Mohammeds in a row. Mohammed Jadoon.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So there's a lot of work that is being proposed on agentic AI in IETF right now. And I mean, I don't know what's the best way to actually manage it and how to basically come about which topics to prioritize and which topics to not prioritize here. And I don't know what is the solution, because if we would like to have such a meeting again and then decide, or if we will have some other way of working out this. So yeah, I that's something, it's I don't know what's the best way to go about it. So if we can actually work on doing something and start working in the IETF. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. Osama.
Yeah, Sama to you, Kristen. My general impression from all of the talks that were presented is that the security perspective is completely missing. And somebody here I think it was Peter who was mentioning that there has to be a security community and a non-security community. I kind of disagree with that. I think we have to work together. It should not be like, hey, I am the security guy, you are the non-security guy. It shouldn't be like that. So we should, I would ideally like to see a security part in each of the presentations, in each of the proposals, and start with not like that. So start with a definition of what you see as AI compared to the conventional ones. then what is agentic AI? And then how do you see these things? What are the type of the problems that you are trying to solve specifically in there? And what kind of communities do you want to collaborate and bring these communities into the IETF? That's how it's going to work. Otherwise, if we are all the time writing these license statements to different communities, then what will the IETF itself be doing? And I really appreciate this effort of communicating or coordinating between those. I think we need another one of that to be more coordinative and to do and to carry on this work. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Guang Ping.
郑州黄 CT. Thanks for the AI agent above, which I believe is the first platform sponsored by IETF, because there's a lot of things happens in the community. But I still believe this will be more helpful for us to have perspective of end-to-end solution, as well as the full life cycle, so we can identify the gaps and problems which could be done in IETF. So from my perspective, what is missing is routing technology. I believe it belongs to the AI as well as the AI agent enabling technology. There's a lot of site meetings in routing area, but I'm not sure why it's not in the AI as well as the AI ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you. David.
Hi, David Skenazy, Google. So I think there's a lot of interest in AI right now. It's the buzz. I feel like there's a lot of fear of missing out on AI. Oh, it's happening and I want to be a part of it. So that causes people to do all sorts of interesting things. But like we said earlier, that's not the expertise we have here. We've heard a lot of good presentations about various topics like DNS, for example. We have a lot of DNS expertise, but we don't necessarily need DNS in our AI the same way that we didn't need a social network for our pets 20 years ago. If I look at bots in general at the IETF, the point I'm kind of trying to make is small, very tightly scoped efforts with a clear deliverable can be extremely successful here. Large architecture changing shifts, paradigm shifts, we have no way of successfully doing that at the IETF. So I think when individual things happen, let's say an AI provider says, you know what, I need an authentication method that allows me to scope down what this agent is allowed to do, and they come to us, we might have a tightly scoped bot for a tightly scoped working group that could do that. But we need to do coordinate on AI. I don't think much success will come out of that. I don't think there is a single liaison statement we can send that'll make things better, as opposed to, who's these IETF people? So I'm not sure I see a good path forward for this right now until we have more concrete use cases and concrete problems that need to be solved.
Thank you. Glad to see the remote room is actually working. Zahid.
Jahid Shakar, Nokia. I'm not going to give a lecture here, standing in IETF meeting to what open standard does for the economic growth and big thing that we want to do in IETF. So let's just skip that part. So, and I really love the way that things are happening in the AI kind of ecosystem. They have the open source way of doing things happening in the applications. That's great. But my interaction with the, say, like for MCP community, some of the people that I've been talking, because I was trying to do some gap analysis, like I start to see like they're kind of doing the same things, same protocol kind of layers. Like they're talking about, they have transport, 3 different transport. They have session management, they have like some kind of ID, authentication, authorization, and stuff like that. And they're doing it within these things that they're building, the things like this an application and trying to do it. And there are like lots of different projects now. They started with different goals, but they are overlapping things. So I believe like what we'd love to encourage them to have this innovation speed, but at some time, they might also need to interact within the projects, and there perhaps our IETF standards can help. And on that one, what I think we really need to work on perhaps 3 things: and a use case or requirement documents, like what are our use cases and what are the requirements out of it, do some gap analysis, perhaps all these things. So, and then perhaps as a framework, where you put all the things together. Like today we talked about DNS security, we talked about some sort of like applications, we talked about multimodal communication and all these things. We put them things together, discovery, identity management, everything in a framework document, and try to engage with this community that's out there trying to develop the AI applications. They're like, hey, here is the things that you could do to actually have more interoperable agents communication, and you don't need to reinvent something that we already have. So that would be my approach, and something like minimum viable working group to produce that one. And that would also give us the ability to liaise with them. I mean, if you're not doing anything here, just individual drafts, why would you send liaise and why would they bother? So that's what I would like to do here in IETF.
Thank you. Right, there are 12 people and 14 minutes. I don't want to gong people out on 1 minute, so please control yourselves. Jordi.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a point about use cases. Yeah, so generally when developing specifications, good general approach is to start with use cases. Then from there, you kind of do some sort of gap analysis. Then you develop the requirements, and eventually you start working on the specifications. So I know that there's a lot of sense of urgency in kind of getting our hands on and starting working on the specifications, but I like to make a point about making this process more explicit in terms of developing actual use cases. And yeah, even though we have a sense of urgency, there is no reason why we cannot parallelize that. These are independent processes. So some of us are starting to look into this. Tomorrow we have a side meeting where we exclusively focus on side meeting and use cases. One of the goals is to provide some guidance in terms of when you have a use case that you want to bring into the IETF, what kind of things you should be writing about, so that then on top of that, we can start doing gap analysis requirements and then also connecting the dots across, because there is a lot of folks that are coming up with use cases, and I think there's need to bring some explicit structure to this process. So in doing so, we invite folks to participate also. Tomorrow there's a side meeting, but also just letting you know that we're looking at kind of trying to bring some structure, maybe put a draft that just focuses on use cases, and then maybe in the next meeting in Vienna, have something more cooked for that reason. Thank you.
Thanks, Lionel.
Hi, thank you. Very short. From a 3GPP point of view, so thank you, Suresh, for the basic information. Just to let you know that so far it's just a feasibility studies, saying that how AI could be used in the core network and so on, and how the network could support AI services like discovery and so on. These studies will be finished next year in March 27. And after that, you will have also a study on the protocol aspects. And the protocol aspect will, so the study will finish in September next year. But for sure, 3GPP will not develop any solution. I think that the basic assumption is to adopt a standard solution defined somewhere else. My personal view is that IETF could be the place for that, because usually we like to adopt an IETF solution in order to develop something internally in 3GPP. Just to let you know that if something is done, it should be done right now, whatever the area, 8-way, discovery, authentication, because 3GPP is driven by a milestone deadline. So, and the end of the work, the normative work will be March 29, and it will be done. Thank you.
Thanks. Arno.
Right. So there will be a lot of things to say. So I'm going to address just two of the questions here. So what broad topics belong in the IETF scope? One thing that surprises me in our discussion is, are we realizing that we are not here creating something that we connect machines? We did it with internet. We are connecting intelligence. And now we have the human is becoming a node in the system, and we've got something called agentic AI, which is another synthetic intelligence that we have to deal with. So what surprises me here is that, and perhaps back to what others have said, like David Skenazy and others, are we taking the step back to understand our requirements? Because if we screw something on our design now, we are going to lose an interesting control of what's going to happen for the society. So I have a much higher level problem here that means that we may not even have the right requirements to understand what we have to build here. The second thing is about coordination. Why are existing processes not enough? I start to perceive why, at least between SG17 and IETF, but that's going to be very hard to fix. So we need to do that, but it will take time. However, I can do here, from this IETF to the next one, SG17 will have 4 workshops, 1 content week, and 1 plenary. 3 of the workshops are only for agentic AI. 20 new work items are already in the process. That's 15 months we are working on that with 400 people. So my point is that here you basically started by side meetings in Madrid, again side meetings in Montreal, again side meetings now as the first BOF. So guys, we need to create a strategy here, because at the moment, the friction itself of how many people are spending time in side meetings and are not coming to the IETF session is just shocking. And we can't achieve anything in the side meetings. We can share a little bit some things, that's it. We cannot make decisions, cannot make consensus, we cannot develop things, we cannot organize ourselves. So there is another problem. So what I can do here to help, those workshops are not just for SG17, they are open to everybody. Usama was complaining we have no time to do security. Well, come to them. I'm doing this and not on the whole space. I'm just doing it on 3 specific aspects of digital identity, governance, and the control plane trust management for the agentic AI. I could accelerate you.
Sorry to interrupt. In the interest of time, can you please be brief?
Sorry, but just to finish, this could be an opportunity that we end in July with a lot of input for this group, and maybe we can accelerate the group here. That's it.
Thanks, Hamian.
Hamian Huawei. So firstly, happy to see these contributors on multiple AI agents topics. And as a contributor, I do believe there will be new work and incremental values brought by the AI agent. On the other hand, we, as the IETF, already have some good works on the protocols and data models. And what I would say at this moment is the AI agent will complement and enhance our IETF protocols rather than replacing them. So I would suggest or even prefer to introduce the new work in an evolutionary manner, which means we need to be very careful to start new working groups. But the work belongs to the original working groups, and people could contribute to the AI agent enhancement instead of going to the new working group to work on the AI version. So on the other hand, this kind of the coordinated work like today is absolutely necessary and help people to understand each other. And finally, happy to contribute and help coordinating under my expertise, including the liaison other SDOs.
Thank you. Heads up to everybody, we're not locking the queue. When we're out of time, we're out of time. Yunfei.
Yunfei, China Telecom. Happy to see so many people from different background together here to discuss such a broad topic. And just one question related to the physical AI. I noticed that in several talks, there are people to talk about the embodied AI, connected vehicles and drones. But when we talk about the physical agent, and the interaction between the physical agent and the digital agent is quite different from the pure digital agent interaction. But in today's talk, when we talk a lot, we have talked a lot of protocols and interactions, but there seems to be a missing piece related and discuss the semantic interaction between the physical and the digital agents. For example, there are some different relation groups in the physical world, but in the digital world, it's peer to peer, but it's quite different from the physical world. And there are other difference, says the physical constraints. There are no limited in the digital twin simulators, but there are quite some physical constraints in the physical world. So such semantic difference created some maybe some new opportunities in the protocol designs. It would be better in IETF, but when we talk about such kind of scenarios, this kind of semantic technical requirements and gaps in the current protocols to be more discussed. Thank you.
Thanks. Yuri.
Just a reminder, please be brief. We have 5 minutes and 11 people in the queue. Thank you.
Jari Aiko Eriksson. I wanted to make the point that while the AI industry has this monthly or quarterly fashionable solutions, for other industries to be able to use some of this technology, some stability and standards would actually be good. So there is clear demand for interoperability in the cellular industry, for instance. And on the list, we've had some discussion on what overall categories of things we need to be doing technically, but we know much less about who should be doing those and where. From the IETF perspective, I see 3 possibilities. Either we improve on the components we have or transport protocols and so on, or we become the experts on some particular topic like discovery and others use our results, or we try to do a more wholesale protocol solution, perhaps in collaboration with others. But in any case, if we want to do something, we should do it now and maybe not start with full features, but rather the minimal solution.
Bing.
I've been following the AI agent related side meetings for the past IETF and past this one. There are already almost 30, at least more than 20 side meetings. It has been extremely painful to track them one by one. And so I think it would be extremely helpful if we can have a kind of permanent place to let people by default go to this place to discuss different topics, and maybe can act as kind of a, incubation. Once people figure out, okay, for example, the agent-to-agent communication protocol, or maybe the discovery topics already be concrete and consensus, then people can move out to have their dedicated group to apply BOF or working group. Thanks.
Thank you. Coming up is Pong. If you've put yourself in the queue and you've already spoken, please think about other people. Pong.
Yeah, Pong from China Mobile. Since there's so many work here, I think a coordination group might be needed since it's related to several areas and one group. And meanwhile, a document of protocol analysis is also needed to make people know well about what's the real work. So if we have that, we might don't need to wait the whole picture to be so clear and start work together, but just to choose where the problem statement is clear first.
Lovely. Erasmid.
So just to add on what David and some other folks that actually have been talking here, if you have something specific that you want to talk about AI, nothing actually stops you to actually get together and go to a particular area and ask for some sort of charter to actually do your work, or find a working group that is already working in that area. Security is one of them. Authentication, register, all these pieces. Nothing stops you from going into a particular working group that is already filled with experts in that area and work in that area. So what we need to do is make sure that we have focus groups that are put together, that are fit with people that are expert in that area and that can do that type of work. We are trying to do, for example, communication protocols on AA Proto, because this is the group of people who know that area. We don't know, like I don't know security, but there is security area that people can actually work in under. So break it to the pieces and have the work done in different pieces that are relevant to the items that you want to work on.
Okay. So it turns out I cannot lock the queue. So right now we have 6 people in the queue. Each of you only get to speak 30 seconds. I will literally timer it. Please
Okay, thank you. My name is George Galagianis from Hawaii. Thanks very much for organizing it both. But since more than 1 year, we are just discussing on this topic. So one way maybe to to speed up the selection process and the discussion is maybe to have an interim meeting before the Vienna meeting, and there maybe could be 1, 2, 3 days, and then there we can define the charters for the both that will take place in Vienna.
Yeah. Okay.
Torres.
I would suggest to help people make it easier to have interim meetings of their own, so that we get rid of too many side meetings during the IETF week, right? Yes, people who are in the know can do it, but I'm in so many of these side meetings. Which mailing list are you discussing on? What's your wiki page? Where are you tracking the progress? Why is there no time for discussions here, right? So I think pushing them towards interim, just, have some people the ability to use WebEx to help them set that up. I think that would move a lot of time free for interims here.
Thank you. John.
I just one thing to concern is that at the beginning, Chair mentioned the meeting focused on agent. I just want to mention that the name and the scope, because it's maybe not suitable if you call it AI protocol, but just only discuss AI or it just discuss agent to agent. So it will be confuse people. So still a lot of AI related issues need place to discuss about AI training or AI inference. Thank you.
Thank you. Roberta.
Yeah, really quickly, okay. If we don't, for example, we don't have some spaces to speak about security into the topics that we have, that probably will be working groups on problem spaces, and we don't have this space as well. For example, to something that might be a dispatch to aggregate this for the AI, right? Where will we do the work? What is the proposal that we want to measure? Do we want to create a specific group for security related to AI and agents, or do we want it to be around it?
Thank you. Cullen.
Briefly, I just wanted to comment on the speed things are moving. And part of the issue is there are so many different things, and they're actually moving quite fast. And our goal is not to make a standard to do X. Our goal is to make a standard to X that is broadly used and meets the needs. So trying to build consensus of a group of people that have similar use cases and can solve them, that are building all parts of this, is really why something like this takes time. And it doesn't really matter how we have more meetings or less meetings, where it will take time to bring a bunch of people together on consensus on this.
Perfect. And Jingzhao, you get to be last.
Okay. Just one more comment that I don't believe we can putting all the AI related work in one new working group is good, because we already have so many working groups. And if we want to do the general AI work, maybe we can have a new working group. And if we want to do some AI work for network, there already have many groups to be done. Like we can, if we want to do AI for network management, we can do it in MOB or OPSA. If we want to do AI for like optical network, we can do in CCamp, and refer to the new refer to the general AI requirements in the new working group. That's my point. So not putting everything AI everything related to AI in the new working group.
Okay, we got it. Thank you. Right. Wow. Thank you, everybody, for draining the queue effectively. I'm not sure it falls to the BOF chairs to summarize any of the technical discussions here. There was a lot going on, especially in the chat. There's some procedural stuff we need to do, I think, but even easier, I have an AD, so the chairs can go to sleep.
So first off, I'm Andy Newton. I'm one of the art ADs.
First off, thanks to our chairs for putting this together. They've made it look easy, especially in light of some of the Miteco issues, but they've worked hard on this in the background. So if you want to give them a round of applause, I'd appreciate that. There we go.
Thank you.
Given the questions that are up on the slides here, I don't think we have, at least my sense of the room and reading the chat, we don't have a clear answer to those questions that are up there, but certainly the IHG will take a look at this and evaluate it. I do think we've had several themes that have come up through the presentations, and there has been, if there is one thing we want to take away, and several people said this, is that if something can be scoped down and clearly defined, there are many ways to take that to the several dispatch functions within the IETF. So not all of them are art, some of them might be security, some might be int area, but if you have something that's well-defined and scoped down and can fit into an existing working group or go to an area, pay attention to the dispatch functions for that area. That's really all I have to say.
So one of our questions here was, should this be an ongoing thing? And maybe there's a subsidiary question, which is, are there any idiots who chair it? So there's a little poll for you to play with. Do you think the IETF should have an ongoing AI agent to agent, right? That's limited to agent, not the whole AI soup, coordination activity. Do go ahead and voice an opinion. We've probably only got time just to collect this poll to see whether people are kind of sitting on the fence or whatever, or even can make Miteco work. We'll leave that running while I'll take the opportunity to re-emphasize what Andy just said. We do have the ability to hold BOFs. BOFs need to be focused because they're trying to produce working groups, and working groups that are not focused are typically disasters. So if you can see a piece of clear protocol work that the IETF could do where there's a community, then maybe that's something to talk to your AD about and start generating a work topic to be dispatched or BOFed or created as a working group immediately. So I'm seeing a kind of rolling thing here that is maybe 8 to 3 in favor, but that's not very good. My eyesight's not working. Is that Jim?
Yes, it is, Adrian.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, there's going to be a problem finding some other stackies to chair any future BOFs or whatever. But I would also ask that if we have to have further discussions or side meetings on this topic, that they should have much more focus on things like use cases and requirements. I think that's the positive way to try and make progress on this stuff. If we don't do that, we're just going to just expending hot air.
Thank you. The hot air working group. Osama, you have a minute maximum.
Yeah, very quickly, I want to quickly understand what does the coordination activity means. Does it mean coordination on the list? Does it mean this BOF kind of coordination, this coordination BOF? Or does it mean the groups or the proponents by themselves coordinate? So could you clarify that specifically? Thanks.
Yeah, so when we wrote this question yesterday, Ingen and I came up with a list of possible coordination activities. And I think what we thought was, let's just ask whether you think something should be done. Yeah, the choices are, yeah, we should coordinate in some way. We've got lots of tools, let's pick one. Or no, this is something we shouldn't be looking at. Close the meeting. Go ahead.
So we are almost at the top of the hour. So if there are no further comments, I think we had a very nice BOF, hopefully. Yeah. Thank you for everybody's attention. We had some troubles with Miteco, but hopefully we get all the content and chat history, and we'll post that in the meeting minutes. Thank you.
I was thinking like, yeah, but the interim 1, 2, 3 days, fine, everything. Otherwise, you took 1 hour.
Looking forward.
Like,
Okay.
yeah. Doing,
Thank you. Later. See you.
All the people that care about it. Yeah, but it could be online because now it's difficult, right? Fine.
I was not even sure like I would be able to get back.
Yeah.
So very
No, like tomorrow you might see. Hi, Ori. Maybe, hi.